Okay. Let me give you an analogy. All right.
Computer code has to be sustained.
Okay. Look,
Yeah. Yeah.
suppose you have an infection and you're given antibiotics. The antibiotic will be introduced in your system, but it's only going to have a certain amount of efficacy in your bloodstream. And then you have to take another one the next day because it's introduced, but then it dissipates. So you have to keep on taking the antibiotic so that your blood levels of the antibiotic are sustained. Okay? So an actual regularity over whatever time index you want. It could be a nanosecond. It could be 1 second. It could be 1 minute. It could be an hour. Doesn't matter what the time index is. That identity over time must be imposed and sustained. Otherwise, it is an illusion.
So God is sustaining it with life force or energy.
That's what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that Jesus Christ upholds all things by the power of his will. He not only creates it, he sustains it in continuation. But you see, when people don't believe in God, they simply take the world for granted. Okay. And one professional atheist said, well, that's just the way the world is. So then is the world and its regularities eternal? Are the regularities eternal and absolute in and of themselves? I don't think even an atheist would defend such a stupid notion.
They do.
Well, yeah, I would agree with you.
They try.
Yeah. Now, this is not just esoteric mumbo jumbo. This is at what is the root of human intelligibility, but it's so foundational that people don't even think about it. Of course, dogness remains the same, even though something that may possess the properties of dogness may die and then change, and it goes from being a dog to dirt. So when people say, well, we don't need God, yeah, you do. Because when you say we are in no need of God, say, good, explain to me how you can have intelligibility. And then what you have happen is like that individual, they will acknowledge the truth of the analysis that destroys atheism, but then he'll go on making assertions of intelligibility and meaning and identity over time with nothing to impose or sustain it. It's like the Black Knight in Monty Python the Holy Grail, who got both his arms and legs cut off, and King Arthur walked away, and he says, come back, you coward, fight me. Once somebody acknowledge that we must have an identifiable, defensible absolute that imposes and secures regularity and identity over time, or it's lights out. But you see, they will realize the truth that God is necessary for everything, including human intelligibility, but they are so committed to their own personal mental autonomy that they do not want to give it up and repent and acknowledge the sovereignty and the autonomy of God as the creator and sustainer of actuality and regularity in this world. They simply take the regularity of this world. It just is. I could play an audio clip for you right now of
That's what Detroyer said yesterday.
Yeah, this is what they do. Okay, so Gordon Stein, who was a preeminent atheist debater, was debating Greg Bonson, and when he talked about the world, about the laws, the regularity, he goes, "Well, that's just the way it is."
And if that's just the way it is, then it can just be not that way in 1 second.
I didn't hear what the other person said.
No, he just said, "Oh yeah, it's just physics, bro. I don't know." Detroyer. I was just saying that's what he said.
Well, Detroyer is a waste of time to talk to because I have politely and sternly told him on a number of occasions it's a waste of time to talk with him because he constantly splits hairs and he makes everything his interlocutor says somehow controversial. Therefore, making it, having a interchange impossible. It goes nowhere. You know, this is what the Dr. Professor Stephen Law did with my interaction with him when I tried to define God as just to give a definition that God is ultimate. He's the source of all possibility. And rather than acknowledge a non-controversial definition of God so that he could defend why that God doesn't exist, well, he didn't want to defend his atheism that God doesn't exist. So what he tried to do was be sleazy and smarmy and go, "Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean by ultimate? It's a slippery term." I mean, this is what I would expect of a snot-nosed 14-year-old, not a professor of philosophy and a published author. It's because he knew he couldn't bluff his way out of it.
Well, here's the thing. With the right kind of sophistication, you can make almost anything into a slippery term, any word at all.
What do you mean by what? Hold on. What do you mean by all? What does that even mean?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean by slippery?
I mean that's
such a slippery word. That slippery is such a slippery word.
You see, you can derail any interaction, disagreement, or debate just by simply making everything your interlocutor says controversial.
That's why I've said you can only have an intellectual conversation with someone if both parties want to. If one of them's decided to bog it down, then it can't proceed.
That's why if you ask in some of these debates, I'll ask the question of my interlocutors, and they'll prevaricate. They'll give a response that is not specific to the question that I asked, right? Notice I didn't say they didn't give me the correct answer. It's they didn't give me an answer that is germane to the question. And then they'll give some rabbit trail response, and then I'll say, you didn't address the question. And then they'll even be further sleazy and say, oh no, I did. You just don't like the answer. See, this is one of the 107 stratagems of Plan B where atheists obstruct the conversation by just prevaricating. Oh no, I did answer the question. You just didn't like the question or the answer. It's not whether I like it. It's just that you didn't address the question.
What do you make about eternal models? Like,
I don't know what that means.
Like Roger Penrose's Silic model of the universe.
It's delusional. It's just a form of idolatry. How could you instantiate that anything is eternal unless that which is eternal is a mind, God, and has constructed this world in order to reveal that he is? How would you be able to do that? You couldn't. All Roger Penrose is doing, and I have admiration for him because he's a really smart guy. There's no doubt about it. He's a brilliant man. But all he's simply presenting is a very sophisticated form of his vivid imagination, and it simply constitutes idolatry because he does not want to acknowledge God as that which is eternal. He wants to acknowledge that the creation in some sense or in some way is eternal. And this way he retains his personal autonomy. Because if we acknowledge that God is that which is the only thing that is eternal, guess what happens to our personal autonomy? Okay? Then we have to realize that we are creaturely and we have a responsibility to acknowledge our creator. But Roger Penrose doesn't want to do that. You see, Charles Darwin is the one who has foisted this materialistic worldview. Because once Darwin's theory took hold and people drank that Kool-Aid, philosopher, you have an open mic.
Oh.
Once the theory of evolution metastasized through academia and engulfed the minds of people, then from that they projected, well, I don't need God for my being here, so I don't need God for the cosmos either. And I have an audio tape of Leonard Susskind saying basically the same thing. Okay, you can. I won't play it right now because I'm going to dinner in a few minutes. But you can go onto YouTube and just type in Leonard Susskind and intelligent design. And in a 3-minute clip, he basically says, yeah, the universe looks fine-tuned. It looks like it's designed. But we used to think that about animals and creatures on the planet, but Darwin showed us a better way. Darwin figured out what it was. It was an unknown law of nature that produced what appeared to be designed. And one day we'll find out what designed the cosmos. And you know what it always is? It's an appeal to chance. Okay. So they appeal to a larger spectrum of events. And out of that massive spectrum of events, they can pull out complexity and design, right? It's like playing, they think it's like playing the lottery.
They just try to kick the chance down the road, like they're kicking the can down.
Say, well, I know it.
Chance.
I know it's. I know winning the lottery ticket is 1 in 20 million, but listen, if there's enough people buying the tickets, you're going to whittle down the probability, and sooner or later you're going to strike pay dirt. This is what they think about biology, and this is what they think about cosmology. But you see, the problem is, with the discovery of DNA, when we look at it from a purely probabilistic standpoint, there's no chance within the scope of basic probability that beneficial mutations could build the genome. It couldn't even build a protein. If you have 100 amino acids in its polymer or chain, right? If you randomly generate the coding sequences for amino acids, you're not going to come up with the coding sequence for a protein. Even if you throw at it a trillion planet Earths over 13.7 billion years, and we can go through the math, right? Now, is it an ultimate argument? No, because you could just say, well, it's astronomically improbable, but it could happen. But you see, they don't reason that way about other things, do they? The bottom line is this, is that atheists and unbelievers have been getting away with this idolatrous, absurd line of reasoning of why they don't need God. And Christians need to apply seriously what God has said about himself and creation, and to show the unbelievers that what they are saying is complete nonsense in light of what God says. Well, how do we do that? Because then we show what is the converse of what God says. If God says that he is the creator, he's revealed himself in creation, he's revealed himself in human history and in the Christian scriptures. And somebody says, you haven't proven it. You haven't proven it. Say, good. Okay. Let's take a look at your world now. Okay. So we haven't proven, okay, to you that God is creator, that he is ultimate, that he is the one and only eternal absolute, out of which all regularities or identity over time, along with some change, bring our world. So good. Explain to me your world. Is your regularity real? Are the laws of nature real? They're going to, well, what are you talking about? Of course they are. We put a man on the moon. Okay, so what? Can chance produce the most amazing complexities? Because you better say yes, because you believe in evolution. So it doesn't matter that you have predictive capability. The question is what accounts for this regularity? Is it happenstance? Is it chance? Or is it imposed? Because if it's not imposed, then the regularity is simply illusory, and then there goes identity over time. But if it's real, then you can have identity over time. But the question, if it's real, what imposes it? And they'll just say, oh, well, that's just the way it is. Oh, so the regularity is eternal. Well, where'd you get that from? Right? When we say to you,
Well,
God
that's
is
just
eternal.
the way it is that's not them saying it's eternal. That's a brute fact. That's that saying it's that way for no reason.
Yeah. So when we say to you, well, God is the eternal creator, you say, well, you haven't proven that. So, well, God revealed himself. Well, I don't accept that. Say, okay, fine. Then how do you explain that these regularities exist? Do you know that Leo Filius tried to pull this crap? In one video, and I'm going to do the remainder of the review tonight, all right, where in one video, he says, well, he can't prove naturalism is true. Well, we can't prove it. We can't prove theism. We can't prove atheism. But then he turns right around in a debate with me, and he says that it's proven that there are these eternal regularities known as quantum fields. You see how atheists just lie and make up stuff?
Oh, what was his answer when you asked him? I remember it was one of those epic quotes. Do you remember what his BS answer was when you were interrogating him about that?
There were so many BS responses, I couldn't keep track of them.
Wait, he said quantum fields are eternal.
Yes.
Oh,
They're
you asked
not
him how he knows that, and he said because of their structure.
Yes. He was totally lying through his teeth.
Yeah,
because he was trying to save face the whole time and not come across as the idiot that he is. Now, when I say he's an idiot, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. He certainly has aspects of his intellect where he's smart. I don't dispute that. If he's able to read books like by Sean Carroll and comprehend Sean Carroll's reasoning, right, then he's not stupid. But people who are really smart in some areas can be really stupid in others. And that's Leo Filius. Okay?
just like Richard Dawkins commentating on philosophy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a train wreck.
To give him a fair point, he is kind of halfway correct that if a certain interpretation of quantum mechanics is correct.
Listen, I gotta go. I'll be back later on tonight.